Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video I'm going to do my official review of the Fireball tool squares that I bought about 8 months ago. So I've had these tool squares, as I said, about 8 months now, and I have been using them in the shop, not on the daily unfortunately, as I am a blacksmith and an artist blacksmith, so I don't actually get that many opportunities where I'm doing a ton of fabrication work. But these have really helped me on a few fireplace frames that were more fab jobs that I've done. So I've done about 6 different fireplace frames with these tool squares, and I wanted to take and give you guys my honest review of these. So before we begin, I have not been paid in any sort of way. Hashtag Fireball Tool is not a sponsor of this channel. I just wanted to take and render some thoughts and how maybe the tool squares could be improved a little bit for a guy like me in my shop using, doing my purposes. Other than that, these are absolutely phenomenal squares and they are definitely worth the buy in my opinion. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Some of the pros about the squares offerings is the fact that you have some variety in square options around the sizes that you can choose. You also have 2 different materials that you can choose from. They have cast iron squares like what I have here, and then they have cast aluminum squares that you can get that are significantly lighter than the cast iron ones. I only have the cast iron ones, so I can only speak to those effect. I chose cast iron because I believe cast iron is better for longevity purposes. So that's why I took and purchased the cast iron itself. So that's one of the pros, is that it has several different options. You have some smaller squares like you see here. I believe he calls those as mega squares. And then he's got these big old beasts here, the larger brothers of that. And again, you've got the smaller and the larger version of this as well. I will link up Jason over at Fireball Tools videos that he has on this and his channel. Go over there, show him some love, and let him know Roy sent you. If you've enjoyed this video and this review, just let him know I sent you his way. Again, not a sponsor. I just believe in his product that much that I just wanted to take and shout him out on YouTube here just a little bit. So one of the next pros about these tool squares is the quality. The quality of these squares is absolutely bar none. I've used several different squares, off the shelf type stuff, Harbor Freight stuff, that's nothing to speak of. And nothing has compared to the squareness and the accuracy of these squares. So when you weld a joint with these, it is guaranteed it is square. If you think it's out of square, it's usually the material or you didn't prep something right. It's not the square's fault. And it will it'll bug the dickens out of you. Just for an example, I had a fireplace frame, quick story. I had a fireplace frame that I was having some problems where the frame, although I had cut it, although it was square at the corners, when I got to putting the framework together, it was spried, like it wouldn't go together square like. And I was wondering, man, what's the deal? And I had a real hard time pulling it back into true and welding it up. Well, when I later on looked down the piece and found out that the piece from the manufacturer, the actual angle iron itself, had a bow in it from either it came from the manufacturer that way, or it was bent in travel to the steel department, or maybe it was bent loading it on my truck or driving it home, who knows. But the point is the steel actually had a curve to it naturally, and I had cut on that curved portion, and that ruined my day for that being square. And I had to heat it up and end up pushing it back in and kind of tweaking stuff a little bit. But that corner there, the corners on it was absolutely square. So you could square a square off with this square. Did I say square enough in that comment, that sequence for you? Anyway, so quality is bar none, period. Next thing, price. Price for me was of good value. It was great value. So many times have I been let down by buying premium tools that I expected to do better than some sort of Harbor Freight knockoff, and they let me down time and time again. And I've had good experience with good manufacturers of different tooling, whether it be power tooling, angle grinders, chop saws, you name it. And then I've had good and I've had bad, horrible experiences with the same you know, the same type tool, same specs, again, just from a professional manufacturer of them. And I'm glad to report that the money that you spend on these squares is money well spent, and it's definitely has saved me oodles and boodles of time. To give you an example, whenever I've welded with these squares before welding with these squares, it might take a fireplace frame to get everything set up and square and nice and my exact specs, because they have to fit pretty darn tight to the spaces for the customers. A lot of them are being shipped out of country as well when I make these fireplace frames. So they have to be to exact specs. It would take me a whole day just to get set up to make 4 welds or 8 welds or whatever it may be at that point, as where I can spend a day of prep work and within 15 minutes I've got the full job welded up, because these squares save so much darn time. So if you are in a professional shop and you don't own these, you're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion. The next pro that these squares have that I want to take and talk about here is that they have these little reference tabs on here, and it's drilled and tapped on both sides, so that's great. You can choose what side you want of these squares. That is a huge pro, because you have a reference surface that you can buck your piece of metal up against, and that is very nice. That'll bring me into my first con. I wish that these tabs were about an inch longer than what they are now, because when you put larger stuff, or maybe you're using like large pipe, if you're hoping to weld some large pipe up on here, this isn't going to hack it for you, so you may have to end up making your own reference tabs, and almost guarantee they won't be as flat or as perfect as what Jason's already made at Fireball Tool. So I would just like to see him offer a kit or something where these tabs were a lot longer, or there was bolt-on options that you could take and have a V-block or something of that nature that you could then clamp piping to it to be able to utilize the square in that way to a much greater deal. The next con I would say about it is that there are no smaller squares offered currently than this square here. Last time I checked on the website, that's been a few months ago, so who knows, maybe he's done something there. But I would love to take and see a square that's about that size, you know, this corner size square. I would love to see something like that. A lot of times I find myself just needing to take and get in a place to hang something. I'd like it to be square. I'd love to just clamp a square and put it on there. These squares here have the advantage of having an outside joint, so you can do the outside corner joint and still square a piece up. But again, I need that smaller area to get inside something that is already established, and I need to weld something up in that area for whatever means. So I would love to see an even smaller set of squares, maybe something in like a 4-pack that is all similar. So that's just a preference. That's a thing that I hope Jason over at Fireball Tool will watch this video and say, hey, that's a good idea, Roy. That's a great idea. I think I'll make those, because I will certainly be a buyer and a connoisseur of those. So one of my next last things about one of the negatives or drawbacks to these squares is that they are a premium product. So with a premium product, that is going to require a premium price tag. Now, I don't personally have a problem with this because, you know, you buy once, you cry once, usually is the way it works. And as I've already said, they are a great value for your money, and you won't go wrong with these. But I do also think that the price of them prices them out of the range of kind of the weekend warrior or the odd job hobbyist. This is probably not going to be what you're into as far as the price. Again, you don't have to buy a whole 4-pack or 4 set or anything like that. He's got some different options for you to take and help fit your budget. But it's in my belief, again, if there was a little cheaper option out there, which I don't think he can, so that's why I'm not even going to suggest him make anything cheaper, because these things are spot on. They're spot on, and they're mint, and they are professional quality squares made right here in the great USA, and they're meant for professionals or people who take getting things or needing to get stuff perfectly square the first time and easy peasy, seriously. So again, if you're in that bracket where you're still buying a lot of tools from Harbor Freight, because that's kind of where you're at, that's your time of life right now, and you're not ready to take and go and buy professional grade equipment. You might want to take and save your money right now and put it into a good welder first, or something of that nature, some classes, education, take some educational classes in welding or some sort of fabrication from somebody might be of more advantage than just buying squares. These are a specific use sort of thing for somebody who knows how to use them already. Although they are pretty simple, I think anybody could use them. Again, the price is a bit of a cost to entry if you're going to take and get something along this quality. And I have not tried any of the other maybe competing squares out there, and I just don't have to now. I've got my squares for basically life. I will be planning on buying a lot more of these squares from Jason at Fireball Tool. Again, I like having multiples of stuff. So this size square, I'd like to have 4 of those. That way I can jig out a whole project, boom, slap it together. Again, have 4 of those, have 4 of the big ones, have 4 of the little ones, and hopefully 4 of those much tinier ones to help me out in that department. So that's going to be all I got to say about that, I guess. I've rambled on and talked enough. I've spent 11 minutes of time talking to you all here. I appreciate you joining me in the shop. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down in the comment section down below. Again, I will link up to Jason over at Fireball Tool. Great guy, great customer service. You will not be disappointed in buying these squares. I will link up to his channel. Go over there, send him some love, let him know that Roy sent you. And then also there will be some other videos of other smiths or other people, I should say, fabricators that have used these squares in their videos. And I will link those up as well to take and help you with anything like that, since I didn't do any welding in this video. And I hope that'll be helpful to you. So without further ado, I'm going to get back to the forge and I'm going to put these beautiful squares away in their cabinet in a nice, dry, safe place. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.